The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of the galaxy, this is the ForceCenter podcast feed, and this episode is one of our Questions of the Force episodes. The Force, or rather our listeners, have provided some wonderful questions, and we're going to attempt to provide some answers. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
I'm Ken Napzok. So happy that we have given the power of the Force to our fan base. They are actually our listeners, our friends are the Force. That's beautiful. You are the Force. You're the Force out there.
There's just midi-chlorians all up in these questions, so I'm very excited to talk about them and see, what the questions whisper. As always, we want to let you know that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. This week, we are recommending a book that is in our homes. We're going to start reading. We're going to very, very soon be excited to discuss it. If you want to check it out, you can. It is Queen's Hope by E.K. Johnston. If you would like to download a free audiobook version, you can go to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook, Queen's Hope. Ken, have you started Queen's Hope?
I am. Yes, I have. And I'm I think about 80 pages into it. Our review is forthcoming, and so far some really good stuff. And I don't want to give the whole review away, but I am just loving that. Once again, E.K. Johnston's like, hey, you know that like 2 seconds of Padme's life that I've been thinking about for 20 years? Let me write about that. And let me really do wonderful things with it. So, yeah,
oh, man. I can't wait. I have this one set out. I want to finish. I'm reading the Legends Kenobi book. I want to finish that first. And it is like there is some gravity well around this book. I walk by it in my living room and I like veer closer toward it. I even picked it up once. Like, no, wait until you can give it your entire focus. Anyway, speaking of entire focus, let's give it to these questions. We have 2 from Twitter, as always, and 2 from our patrons on Patreon. We'll start first with Twitter. We have a question from Sam Faux, F-A-U-X, Fox. Sam says, which Star Wars video game from eons past would you like to see revived or even get a direct sequel? My choice would be a fully fleshed out pod racer game with the option for a team manager career mode. #take my money. Ken, I know you've talked about both a pod racer game and team management games. This is the game that lives in your heart, right? The pod racer with team management.
Yeah, Sam stole my answer, which probably means he's aware of my answer and we're in agreement. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is, I can't tell you how much I wish I knew how to create video games, because then I would pitch this and sell this or something. I dream about it. Even again, and we're going to take a look at Lego Star Wars the Skywalker saga this week. When you get to kind of play the little pod race mode there too, I kind of thought, like, here we go again. Like, I want to choose a racer. I want to build. I want to have a team. Let's do it.
Yeah, and for the kind of sports management, team management games, I've played like on mobile some games where you pick X, Y, or Z and you march them out and you see how they do. I'd never played a full like sports management game. Mm-hmm. Is that for you? Is that do you enjoy those because it's a little less of the mash buttons, do the challenge, and more like slowly consider your picks and then let it all play out?
Yeah, there's something about it. I wish, and again, this is why I always say, you don't have to love sports. You don't have to love, say, nerd fantasy stuff. I'll put those 2 categories up there. You can love only one of them, but it's the same muscle. And that's why I'm surprised there's, sometimes, well, I get why some of the walls are up. Fortunately, we've all been to high school, but yeah, it is. If you get lost in a Star Wars story, you're thinking about fan fiction and, a story and a mission and characters. It's similar where you just you're thinking of contracts and money and what player can I trade for? Or I've done, I'm not a huge racing fan in real life. I'll attended a race or something once, but like, I've played a lot of those car games where you're like, oh, I've earned enough money to buy new tires. I can go faster. And there's just something about it that connects with those kind of games if you got that kind of mind for it. And so I think, how great would it be to build a new pod and win 3 races, and then you can get a new engine or get a new team of pit droids. Hire a racer, fire a racer, replace Rats Tyrell. Like, you got, the tragedy strikes. all that would just be so fun. So
yeah,
fun.
get a better flag carrier if they're not doing a good job at the beginning of the race.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really, really great. That sounds like a ton of fun. For that's Sam's kind of question about taking an existing game and having a sequel or a revised version.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your answer as well with the Pod Racer game, or is there other Star Wars games that you would like to see revived or get a direct sequel?
Yeah, I felt it was fair since Sam was correct there with that answer. Another one that I just love so much came out. I cannot believe I looked this up today. 1994. Wow, seems like yesterday. I was losing a lot of time that I should have been building my radio career and screenwriting career. Because I come home from college, we get off my radio shift and play TIE Fighter on the PC, and loved it. Loved it. You have to stop a coup against the Emperor, which, now I might not stop. I might join, but it was just fun. And I didn't play a lot of the X-Wing games. And again, you know me, you all know me. We've talked about this before. Empire's got cooler toys. I had the Imperial insignia hat for so long. I didn't play X-Wing. I played TIE Fighter. I wanted to fly TIE Fighter. And it's just a real fun story. And I think a remastered version of that. And then maybe, we got Squadrons. You got a good thing. Just to give me a TIE Fighter specific version of like the Squadrons game.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I think for me, there are a couple ones that I would like to see either revised or have a direct sequel. A direct sequel, I would love a sequel to the Rogue Squadron games.
Oh, yeah.
There's a one that was originally for N64, and then the one that launched GameCube. That was, that's the Rogue Squadron Rogue Leader, which is just one of my favorite video games of all time. I've a bunch of great missions, but I've talked about the Battle of Endor, how much I love that multiple times on this here podcast. And then there was a third sequel that tried to have it all. Where there were flight missions, but then there was also like a narrative kind of inserting. It forced Gumped and Imperial into significant moments of the rebellion's life, and the actual gameplay just did not work. The run and shoot, in my opinion. But you did get access to a cool Jedi starship. Anyway, I think for me that Rogue Squadron flight experience. I know that times have changed, I understand, and the mechanics of flight have evolved. Mm-hmm. But in this Lego game, the flight controls are not intuitive to me. In the Squadrons video game, the flight controls are not intuitive to me. This is a me problem. The world has evolved, and I have not come with it. I am not criticizing these games. This is a me problem. But what I want is the exact controls that my thumbs and my soul know intuitively, because I want to just fly around and feel that feeling of like I feel really free because because this is intuitive to me. So I would love just a new Rogue Squadron with those controls that this old man knows.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with you at all, because I often on Squadrons, even Battlefront 2, whatever, even the new Lego game, there's a couple times I have to, as I'm flying, I have to almost put my controller down and just go, all right, fly straight. Just let it fly straight for 5 seconds and you'll recalibrate where you are.
Yeah. And I'm sure if I put the time into it, I'm just not as obsessive of a video game player anymore, because that's all I would do. So I'd love that. I would love that to be updated. The other thing that I'm sure like a mod exists or whatever, but I don't know if it's available to just buy on Xbox or PlayStation's online stores. I really have a hankering to replay the Phantom Menace movie game. That is the one that made me fall in love with Team Toe. It is that there's a lot I remember about it, a lot I don't. The thing I really remember is that you go into Mos Espa, and you're playing Qui-Gon, and you have to make deal upon deal. It is like a full season of Mandalorian of like, you do this favor for me, then I'll do this favor for you in order to set up the entire pod race. And that's the one where, Qui-Gon encounters Team Toe and he's been drinking.
Oh, yes.
So I would just, I have like these dreamlike memories of that. So I'd really love to just replay that one.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. A lot more video game talk to be had when we do our look at the Star Wars Lego, the Skywalker Saga game. So thank you, Sam, for that pregame. We're warming up in our video game talk. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No, I'm glad you cut me off. I will. I got to maybe just write down my thoughts on this pod racer game and just see who we know. Who can I get this to?
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a demand for it. I think you can start a hashtag. A hashtag.
There we go.
Moving on then, we will get back to the video game Odyssey. We will get this pod racer game. Moving on to our question from Nanigans. Nanigan says, what's your preferred theory for the origins of Luke's Kyber crystal? Did he find his own during his journeys? This one is my preference, Nanigan says. Did he inherit it from someone, Qui-Gon's, or something else entirely? Reintroduction of a synthetic crystal, or synthetic crystals, plural. I did do some research on this, Ken, to remind myself that, yes, it is indeed in the Shadows of the Empire story, the much beloved story by many fans and listeners. We do learn that Luke makes a synthetic crystal to create his green lightsaber. So that's the Legends continuity. And I am not entirely caught up on Charles Soule's current Star Wars comics bridging the gap between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So maybe something has come up with this, but I gotta think that is something that Charles Soule is wanting to write. So I bet that story is coming in that comic book. But I wanted to ask you if you're caught up or have any insights that I don't on that one.
I'm close to being caught up. If there's probably last month, I think I missed the batch. I'll get that in a week or two. So we're not there yet, but I gotta think we're 100% there. The War of the Bounty Hunters was post Empire. We're racing towards Return of the Jedi in the comics, and we're crossing big canon territory, aren't we? And I think this is needed to be answered. This is a question a lot of us have had and have even more in a way, if that makes sense, because we know there's so many of these issues that touch upon this kind of canon in Star Wars. So anyways, other to say, I think we're getting there.
Yeah, I think, going back to Shadows of the Empire time, that's cool. And people have grown up with that and love that. But it was kind of a different time for crystals.
Yeah.
in Star Wars, right? Kyber crystals, starting from the Gathering arc in Clone Wars to really putting them, on screen in Rogue One, big movie, big focus, tying it all together, visiting Ilum yourself is a player of Fallen Order. Kyber crystals and their importance and how they work, and even the stuff in Trial of the Darksaber about the relationship that the user has. It's all built it up so much. So this is a little bit more, to me, of a deep story than where did he find it?
Yeah.
Did he buy one off Hondo? Right? Like, I think for me, the story that I want is I would love to have Luke have to track one down. I think that builds up the story of Luke as a sort of archivist of the Order, which the comics have already been doing since, the ones that bridged A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. And I feel like with the modern story of what Kyber crystals are, I feel like acquiring one is a trial and a building of a relationship. So I would love it if Luke is like, I know he's got the other lightsaber right now in the comics, right?
Yeah, the yellow one. Yeah,
the yellow one. And I read that story. And I feel like, however it gets built to in this comic book, if that's indeed where they tell the story, I would love it to be like Luke says, is a part of my journey to become a Jedi. I can't skip this part of the process. I have to find one, and it has to be a spiritual thing. And I have to find the one that responds to me. It's not just there aren't any in the galaxy, or very few in the galaxy, and I just got to find one. I still have to do what the Jedi of old did. If I have to find the one that's right for me.
We're in the same ballpark. I like this idea that just Luke will know it's time. I don't know, maybe Ghost Ben shows up and says, hey, by the way, this is time. Like that yellow one you have, it ain't going to do the trick here. And I'm with you. We you're going back to the 90s and when some of the crystal lore popped up, the synthetic crystals are something I actually kind of liked on the Sith side, but I just love where it goes now. Bleeding the Blade is so mythical. It's so dark magic almost in a way. And I love the whole story there. So it all kind of, flows into the story with Luke and where he is right now and where he ends up with Vader talking about constructing the lightsaber. It just would make some sense that it has great meaning. And if you just want to talk about the how of it, Ilum could still be in play in some fashion. And maybe he has a Cal Kestis-like journey through Ilum and all the Imperials there. I don't need to rehash all the same beats from that video game level and all that stuff. But you know what I mean? Like why not send Luke to the center of it? That could be something like that. Or combine the two. If it is Qui-Gon's, but he has to connect with in some way and not just search, but build that connection. I could go down that path as well.
Yeah, I wonder if there's also room to enhance the story of the second Death Star's construction, right?
Yeah, okay.
Because I think, there for me, there's probably technical manuals out there, but like do they just have Kyber crystals? Do they have a stock of them?
Right.
Or did they have to mine more and find more for the second Death Star?
Yeah, and Luke crashing into that could be good.
Yeah, I have to go crashing into that. Or I could see some fun story where another culture has a relationship with the Kyber crystals, and Luke's like, hey, I sense that you have this. Any way I could get that? And they'd be like, sure, pass these trials kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's the fun part of the comics now, and I always say I don't connect with all of the modern comics in the last couple of years. I've said that a few times, but I like the potential of taking something, a beat. Luke shows up with a green lightsaber as a kid. Basically, we learned about it from the Kenner figure, right? For a lot of us, like, oh, he's got a new green one. And I just like that it could be a little bit more complicated. And then he could go on a wild mission, like you're saying, to another world we haven't met yet, or something kind of magical, mystical that you wouldn't have thought in 1983 as a kid when you're like, cool, he went to the store and bought a new one like I do. And that's the potential and the promise of those stories in comics or novels. Yes, would we like to see it? Would I love to see it in Mando 3 or something like that? Or a flashback from Luke is what I'm saying. Sure. Maybe he's telling someone about, let me tell you how I got my, sure. I'd love to see it live action, but probably not going to see it. And that's the promise of the comics, why I do go back every month to see what's there for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Final thing with this, how do you feel about the idea that he inherited it from Qui-Gon or somebody like that?
Again, I don't mind that, but that seems so incomplete now, right? Unless the inheritance of it involves some sort of trial or test. I love your idea of him. It's almost like Luke creating his own trials. Like, I'm not ready yet. let me test myself here. So that it isn't just he finds it in a box or something like that. And I don't think that's what you're suggesting at all. But just have some weight behind it. That could work for me too, and be wonderfully a little emotional connection from Qui-Gon to Luke.
Yeah, I mean, I love the legacy of it. That this is the one that is out there. Whatever exactly has happened to it, I think Obi-Wan probably picked it up and brought it back to the temple, and I'm sure it's had some adventures. Maybe even some of them are documented. Who knows? The internet knows, but I'm not looking it up right now. But I think for me, that legacy of from master to master to master to student to master to student is great, but I'd still want him to really have to go through something to acquire it.
Yeah, a little trial. We want to put poor Luke through some stuff. Maybe Luke has to play your pod racer game in order to get Qui-Gon's Kyber crystal. Got to win a level. Can I kick back to you, though, that going back to 83 when he shows up, and again, from our generation's point of view here, did you have any wild theories on that, or did you accept it at face value?
I thought it was really cool. Like, I think there's like some anxiety because at certain points, in the build up to Return of the Jedi, it's like, how is Luke gonna even have a lightsaber? So when those images started to come out, honestly, for me, it was like a little bit of this crisis because blue was my favorite color. And, when you're younger, that's important. That's one of the few things that you have agency over that people ask you about as a kid. What's your favorite food? What's your favorite color? And I was like, as a human being, here's what I know about myself. I like macaroni and cheese, and my favorite color is blue. These are the parts of my life that I have authority over. And a big part of that was Luke's lightsaber, right? So then when it went green, I had this real crisis of faith of like, does green have to be my favorite color now? I like it. Can I abandon blue?
See, this is great. This is great because I was a pizza and green kid. So Jedi was great. And I had it in the Spotlight Star Wars thumbnail that you so wonderfully created years ago that we still use there with me sitting in that shirt. It's green with Emperor Vader and Luke on it, an awkward family photo. And that green, it was just like green. And then the shirt's green. Green's my favorite color.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I mean, I loved it. I thought it was incredibly cool, and I had that crisis of my favorite color, but I loved that green lightsaber, and I loved as I got older the sort of the myth of there had been a scene, and I love that deleted scene, and there's an action figure that I think is a little spendy of Luke constructing his lightsaber. It's a deleted scene action figure that I almost picked up at a convention years ago for $20. I need to I need to track that one down. So I didn't ever though as a kid. I think it was just such a different time. It was like Vader said he constructed a new one. Well, there's the answer, you know?
Yeah. No, and that line was great too. I probably accepted that on somewhat face value of, oh, cool, he built a new one, but that meant something, right? That just, even not knowing anything or any of the lore to come, it just meant something that, oh, I see. You build the lightsaber, you connect with it, and then you're a Jedi. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think your skills are complete, right? That's some of that great tip of the iceberg storytelling of that suggests so much. It suggests that that's a hard challenge, a skill. It requires something, and we don't dwell on what, but it fires your imagination to wonder. And here we are all these years later with multiple versions of that story, still wondering what the new one's going to be.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, great question. Thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be back with our questions from our patrons on Patreon. And we are back to continue attempting to answer the questions of the Force. We go to our patrons from Patreon. This one comes to us from Christopher Ferreira. Hello, lovely hosts. You guys are such an inspiration and validation of my optimistic fandom, and I hope you continue to grow and spread the Bacta tank of talk. Bacta spill sounds like a video game level, kinda, says Christopher. Thank you for the kind words, Christopher. Christopher continues. Anyways, first time asking a question here, so I will keep it simple. I loved the reveal of Din now flying a repurposed N1 starfighter. As a child of the prequels, it is cool to see a ship that looks like my own Lego sets after a few months. That being said, what is your guys' alternate list? What ships do you think could have worked for Din as well as an N1? I personally think that for story reasons, the switch to a one-person starfighter clearly signals a shift away from bounty hunting, but practically, I think maybe a more gradual downsizing may have made sense. So for that reason, my idea for Din's ship would have been a drumroll Arc 170. The prototype for the X-Wing checks all the boxes for Din. Pre-Imperial, or X-Imperial, depending on age, which could also be an advantage, 2 large cannons already installed and torpedoes, a standalone hyperdrive, space for a crew of 3 plus storage, which is more downsized from the Crest, and more importantly, there's an astromech slot to take over for Grogu. What do you guys think? Hope you all have a fantastic day. May the Force be with you. May the Force be with you as well, Christopher. This is a great analysis of some of the meanings behind the N1 and the practical.
Yeah.
How much space does Din need? He is downsizing from like a 1-bedroom apartment ship to a studio. Generous, a bunk. Yeah. Anyway, where do you go with this? What other kinds of ships might have worked in the same way the N1 did, or a slightly different way?
Yeah, wonderful question, Christopher. This is truly a bar conversation. And I think, Christopher, you're nailing the why of the N1, something that's big to us here at ForceCenter, the why of things and what it means. That said, I am still up at night going, but like Joseph just suggested, where's he going to sleep? That just doesn't bring it. That's not practical. Can he get something else attached to it? So I love the use of the N1. I'd love some alternate. I think why not be a 2-car family? Din and Grogu can be a 2-car family. So here's some of the choices I would do. And the ARC 170 is a great choice because it's a great ship. Love the prequel era ships. So many great things to choose from. So I went there first with a modified, capital M modified LAT. I want to see, this is the Volkswagen van of bounty hunting. Now, again, I agree with Christopher. I think we're moving away from bounty hunting, but you talk about a place to sleep, little mini fridge in there, little pop-up tent. I grew up in a Volkswagen van. So the LAT with a hyperdrive, take that around the galaxy, room for Grogu to roam around and play with as many stilled balls and macaroons that he wants to. All right. I love this idea. Love the image. Love the sound. Heavily armed if he needs it. That's my first choice. But I have a backup, but I want to kick it back to you.
Oh, that is a very, very good choice. Yeah, I like that one a lot. For pre-Imperial, I think the N1 is right. For so many reasons. But we'll try to have fun. The Mandalorian Gauntlet Fighter. That is one of my favorite ships. And there's a little bit of room there. And we got to see them parked in live action, and I'm sure I got this feeling that we're going to see more of those Mandalorian gauntlets. But I think we could even see that's the third ship. Maybe there's the evolution of this character via ships. And when he and Grogu both accept their role as Mandalorians, right? That it could be the right ship at that time. So we're not quite there yet. The other thing that I think might have evoked a little bit of the N1 vibe is some sort of real kit-bashed Corellian ship.
Ooh, yeah.
If Pelimoto is like, well, I got a cockpit, just a cockpit from this old Corellian ship, and then I have these wings from an old Jedi T6 shuttle, and just really made something that was in that same spirit with the N1 of it's repurposed, it's new, but had as a part of it that distinctive Corellian cockpit. Right. I think that would have been cool. I think in some ways, not that people of all ages don't love the Falcon or Dash Render's Outrider. Yeah. But I think that it is so significant that would have been a little bit of an original trilogy nostalgia. And I think it is so important and so purposeful that it was prequel nostalgia. So, this is a fun question of what would we have almost wanted?
Yeah.
But not because the N1 is perfect.
Well, and that scene, I still, if I ever meet Bryce Dallas Howard in person, I'm just going to say thank you. Thank you for the way you directed that scene and put that scene out there. Thank you for making that just so emotional. I can't replace that N1 scene for anything, but this is a fun conversation. You also, I think, stumbled onto a scoop, Joseph, from Mando Season 3, now having on high authority that Din does win Dash Rendar's ship in a bet. They meet in Episode 1.
Yep, they have just an epic sabacc battle, right? And Dash Render puts everything on the table: his ship, his shoulder pads. Didn't taste it all.
Yeah, and I know for a fact we're going to have a Lando appearance, and he's going to enter the game to try to, because he kind of hasn't really he misses having kind of like a Corellian, white tea. So he's going to try to get in on that action. This is all. We'll put this on YouTube. We'll make $240,000 a year just selling lies. But absolutely love this. Love this conversation here. I have a weird backup though.
Yeah, go for it.
It's listed as needing a crew of at least 3. So I don't know if Grogu's ready for that. Maybe you convince Grief to come along. Maybe Pelimoto. Maybe she just flies into space. She doesn't leave Tatooine much, she says, right? Well, this is her chance. Talk about going back a few eras. Go ahead and give me Din. And it wouldn't be, if the LAT is a Volkswagen van, this is you got a big RV camper. Put him in a long beam cruiser from the High Republic era.
Oh, wow. That would have been amazing.
Yeah. And again, needs a crew of 3, can carry up to 24 people. So maybe this is when the Mudhorn clan grows, the expansion plan. And they all fly around like a traveling band of, a family band. And they're just flying around the long beam.
Maybe this is where this is all building is Din's like, I'm really tired of coming back to Tatooine to have my ship fixed. So Pelly, I'm hiring you.
Yeah.
You're just traveling with me at all times now. Oh, that would be great. That would be great. I kind of think that as soon as HasLab announces the N1 vintage, repurposed Starfighter as a toy you can buy, then that's when Din will get a third ship.
I love that. That's a good answer.
Just purposely. The final one for me, and you made me think of this, think more about the Clone Wars animated series. Obviously, the LAATs, the LAATs, the Republic gunship is in the movies, but also, boy, is it in the Clone Wars animated series a lot. I love the ETA class shuttle. There's a Jedi version. There's a executive Republic version that Palpatine uses. It is the shuttle that Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka are using when they go to Mortis. It's just got this great wing, the kind of the three wings, like all the shuttles, but they've got this little energy, like they're kind of moving forward.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So that's a good one. A very good one. But I wanted to touch on this just briefly because Christopher does such a great job with it. This is just one of those questions where, like we're saying, it's fun to think of what might be an almost answer. But I think the N1 it represents that change, that downsizing that Christopher is talking about. But I really love that they went to the effort to make this sort of love of the N1 that is in our real world, in our associations with it, as fast and fun and joyful, and that they made that in universe, right?
Yeah.
It's not just Peli talking about it. The way Cobb Vanth reacts to it, right? Like, is that an N1? It makes it like, it really connects it to sort of American myths about vehicles, right? Of like a 57 Chevy Impala, right? It's a beautiful car that's designed to give you fun and freedom, right? And I think I just think that is such an important part of this, of the way they handled this story, right?
I mean, I want to watch that episode again. And also, I love the N1 fun and freedom. Buy it today. Great commercial going.
Exactly. Any other thoughts on this one before we move on to our final question?
The only thought is we could keep going, couldn't we? These are those fun Star Wars questions. I can't wait to have in person with all of you at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah. What ship will be Din's next ship? All right, we go to our final question from Harrison Gibson. Harrison says, hello, ForceCenter friends. While watching Revenge of the Sith recently, I had a fun what if pop into my head. What if Mace Windu had taken Anakin with him to arrest Chancellor Palpatine? We know that he wants to force Anakin into making a choice. You must choose, as Sheev says. How would he have pushed Anakin into making a choice in this scenario? And might Mace showing Anakin he trusts him have made any difference? Also, just wanted to say thank you for being such a beacon of positivity in the Star Wars community. Thank you, Harrison, for the kind words. Let's get into tragedy. Do you think it would have made a difference? Do you think Mace was wrong? Take me into all of your Mace handling Anakin in his critical moment thoughts.
Man, if we haven't, in 6 years of broadcasting, I can't remember everything we've ever done. If we haven't done the deep dive into Mace and his decisions, the good, the bad, and the otherwise, I'd love to do that at some point because he's fascinating. It's a fascinating case study. I think there's so many examples where Mace is right. Bedside manner wrong, but thought process right. He's close to figuring stuff out or make some decisions I agree with. I think it's wise to leave Anakin behind. I do think a boost of trust might have helped Anakin, but I think I have a kind of a boring answer here, Joseph, where it's Padme that's driving all of this and Anakin. That's what's unsettling. And if Mace says, sure, kid, come along, I think the same thing happens. I literally think the same exact beats happen. Fisto holds up a little bit of a fight, goes. If it's him, Fisto and Anakin, I think Palpatine does something to move him out of the picture, force push, whatever, to get the details of the fight. And I still think Mace being Mace, I think Palpatine needs that to happen. Mace gets him in a position. We're almost at the same decision again. I don't know if any of that changes Anakin's heart in that moment, as if he's to say, all right, well, I am here. You're right. Let's arrest. Let's kill him. As long as Mace gets to that same point of we need to kill him, it's all the same. Now, again, if Anakin's there and Mace is there and they can arrest him, sure, maybe we got a different story. Less dramatic on screen, but a different story.
Yeah. I think in the big picture, I ultimately agree with you because I think I think it would have made Sheev work harder. Get to the imagining of how Sheev might have made that work. In a minute. I think this is just one of the things that I really appreciate about the prequel era, in Revenge of the Sith in particular, that it so works like a Shakespearean tragedy where it invites these questions. It invites you to ask, what is the moment, usually in classic Shakespearean tragedy, in the third act, in the middle, where the protagonist makes a choice where like, well, now that choice, now everything is going to fall out from that, and you can't go back. And then a part of the joy and the horror of revisiting tragedy is asking yourself exactly which beats could they have made a different choice, and would it have impacted that one ultimate choice where there's no turning back. And I feel like for Anakin, that ultimate choice is Sheev saying you must choose, and he chooses poorly, in my opinion. And I would say in the opinion of Star Wars, Anakin should not have hacked off old Mace's arm there. But it's constructed well, right? To invite you to see it from Anakin's perspective, where he has been manipulated by Palpatine earlier in the film to take a life when he knows he shouldn't. He's too dangerous to be kept alive, and then engineers Mace over the years, but also in that moment to repeat those things and make it look like a sort of equivalence from Anakin's perspective. So I think we're invited to kind of try to see it from Anakin's perspective, but that all falls apart when you realize it's a manipulation by Palpatine, and he is too dangerous. But I think for me, I think Mace should have trusted Anakin. I think even if it didn't ultimately change everything, I think that it is a failure for Mace, and I think it is a symbolic of the Jedi's failings. Mace has lots of things that he is right to be concerned about, and I think his story over the course of the prequels and the Clone Wars is understandable concern gives way to rigidity and fear. He has a lack of hope in Anakin. He's never allowed himself to go, yeah, but what if? What if Qui-Gon is right? It's always just been, nope, dangerous, bye. Right?
Yeah.
And that can't be good for the kid, right? And then I think this is like the erosion of the Jedi's ability to trust at all, right? To say like, yeah, I think you're dangerous, and I think putting you with Palpatine is dangerous, and I think he manipulated you to be on the council, and you threw a fit, and you got anger swirling around you. Why did he reveal himself to you? Like, Mace's concern is totally understandable, but sometimes that's when trust is needed the most, right? To reach out to somebody and go, I have a lot of reasons to doubt you, and I'm going to put this trust and faith in you in this moment to come with us on this. I think it would have worked out poorly for Mace, but I think just personally, it's a symbol of the amount that Palpatine has eroded hope and trust in the Jedi.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you on that journey there. It's, when I said like Mace is so close to figuring stuff out in the sense of, hey, he's on the doorstep. We talk about choices. And I love what you're saying, too, of just this being overall just representative of the Jedi Order. And you could trace that back to Phantom Menace, right? With Mace and young Anakin just along the way. So to say he comes to a decision point and hides behind the shield of the Order, which is a bit of fear from Mace. So that tracks for me along the way. We're to end up maybe at the same point. Is Palpatine's manipulation of Anakin just too strong for anyone to overcome? But I love that.
Yeah. So I mean, it ends up with further making Anakin feel alienated, and like the Jedi are never going to trust him. It is making the manipulations that Palpatine have said to him seem true. Of like, well, they're not that different than the Sith, right? Yeah. So I think that's a part of that failure. But I don't think if Mace had trusted Anakin, it would have just been like, and now angels sing and everything's fine, right?
Yeah.
Because I do go back to what you said at the beginning is I think Sheev is just like, I've worked too hard for this. I'm too close to this. I think if all 4 of those Jedi walk in to make their arrest along with Anakin, right?
Yeah.
And even Anakin ignites his blade and is like, please, Chancellor, just come with us. I don't think he would be like, it's treason then. And the screaming corkscrew. I think instead he immediately goes to legitimacy, right? Of like, well, this isn't these are just wild accusations. And even if Anakin knows that there's a half truth there, he's such in a place to open himself to half truths. I think Sheev says, well, you have to have a formal investigation, and I'm going to call in my guards. And I think he would put the Jedi in a position to have to use violence. I think he would have the guards attack, and then they would use violence. And then even if Mace just, is like grabbing him by the arm and saying, we're marching you into prison, which I think Mace is too wound up to do and too correct that Palpatine controls everything. I like the image of like Mace taking Sheev by the arm and kind of marching him to the door, and Sheev going, I can't let them take me, Anakin, they'll kill me in prison. Shivved with an electro knife, a vibro knife. I think he'd play up that pity angle, and I think that at this point, with all of the great manipulation he's done of Anakin, I think the thing is Anakin is afraid of Sheev's death, right? Because that's what it is, right? At the end of the day, it's like, you need me in order to keep Padme alive. If I die, Padme dies.
Yeah, absolutely. He lops off Sase 10's head, and Anakin frees him. Got a fugitive thing going here.
Yep. I mean, it works out. It works out really well for Sheev, and I think he would have had to work a little bit harder for it. But I think I think Anakin's need to not lose Padme and experience that pain is more powerful than anything in that moment.
Too powerful. You're also making me think, just analyzing Mace a little bit more. We haven't talked about it a bit, but that Mace comic that came out a few years ago, 5-issue run. If you out there listening haven't checked that out, dig into it, because it basically takes that moment where Mace raises up his blade to strike down Palpatine, and if there's a second or beat of hesitation, it takes that hesitation and turns it into a story from his youth and lessons he learned, and why he might have not just have brought that blade down quicker and faster and actually done the job. Whether or not Palpatine would have let him, of course, is up for debate, but it's a fascinating insight into the lessons in life of Mace to that point and how he himself may have slipped. So we've got good Mace thoughts today.
Yeah. It'd be some really fun what ifs if Mace was like, all right, you're right, I'll arrest him. Right. Does she pretend to go along with it and just force push him out the window? Does he get into prison but get himself out immediately, right? Because he does have way too much power. Mas Amedda is absolutely in his back pocket. For our Clone Wars report, we're just about to talk where he takes over the entire banking system. He controls all levers of power, and it can just use it to obscure anything he does. And Mace is in, that's the problem that they've been at, not pushing back against some of the government problems, that have been going on for years. Anyway, I love these conversations, obviously.
Yes, Anakin. Oh, they'll serve me bad food in prison.
They'll shiv me, Anakin. Yeah. A very different scene, but the same tragic result. That's our theory here. Yeah. Great question, Harrison. Thank you very, very much. In retrospect, maybe we should have ended on the fun and won instead of they'll shiv me, Anakin. But that was the will of the Force. Any other thoughts on these questions, Ken?
No, great stuff today.
Yeah, very, very fun. Thank you all for the questions. Ken, do you want to let people know where they can find us?
Yes, I do. We are on Twitter at ForceCenter Pod. We're on Instagram and YouTube as well. Thanks to everyone who watched our live Q&A last week. It's still up there if you want to check it out, and we'll have another one soon. Look for that. We'll let you know when. Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. Podcast available on a lot of different spots like Acast, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. Just search and you'll find us. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. Get that Speculate Responsibly t-shirt so you can show up in Star Wars Celebration wearing that shirt, and we'll find you easier in the crowd. Patreon.com/ForceCenter is where you can support us directly. From there, you can get into our Discord where you can discuss Star Wars with Force Center friends every day. You can follow me at Ken Napzok, or go to my website, kennapzok.com, for information on all the things I do. Joseph, where can they follow you?
Yeah, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is at Joseph Scrimshaw, and you can check out all of my other adventures on my website at josephscrimshaw.com. But for now, for myself, for Ken, for that great N1 starfighter, this has been Questions of the Force.